Hello and welcome to episode 82 of Flesh and Pod. That's 82 in a row, I want to point out. That's over a year and a half with no misses, unlike some people that may or may not be on this podcast who are starting to miss episodes. But as per always, I'm joined by the Pope of Nope, Derek Oswald, as well as the Whore of Babylon, Matt DeMarco. We'll start with you, Flake. Flake, did you do anything in Flesh and Blood this week at all?
I am...
He's already fucked your face. 42 seconds, we were safe.
Yeah, so it's very fascinating because my entire life is card games, right? And I am so intimately entwined in Flesh and Blood. And if I get to play one game a month, I am elated because I don't get to do that. Most of my day-to-day, frankly, is working on content and partnerships and that kind of whole deal. But it's been a very productive few weeks, but not in the same vein that I want. But I will say this, with Dusk coming to sort of a zenith of all the spoilers, I'm hoping that the dudes from Talishar are like right on top of this, because once those cards hit Talishar, I'm going to go back to basically streaming with the same vigor that I did back at the end of last year when I was streaming like 3 to 4 hours a day of playing.
Oh yeah,
so that's where I'll be back at shortly.
Yeah, you've probably already like programmed your card into Talishar already, right? I know we did already, so I imagine you would have too.
Well, it's not. This one's really difficult to actually program in because they're gonna have to recode a whole lot of stuff for mine. But I'm not. Not even gonna get there with all that.
Charmer, did you do anything in Flesh and Blood?
Yes, I did actually.
What did you do?
I revealed our card. Spoiler, it's outstanding. I've never seen anything like it, and neither has anyone else because you can't see it.
We didn't
get a card. I also, to be fair though, I also did secure some future casting gigs, though not in Flesh and Blood, because again, why would it be in Flesh and Blood? And I did. I got to play a little bit at some locals, but it was not for my actual armory because I couldn't make it in time for the armory. This was the last week that I had to take care of like some additional things, and hopefully now for the summer with kids finally being out of school, I will be able to tackle my weeklies again. And there was some talk that we might even get together this weekend just to make up for the fact that so many people have missed recently. So
Charmer, you need to address something really quick. There's some accusations that your youngest may have charged some games on your Amex card while you're away. Can you confirm or deny?
I can deny because that was a fraudulent charge, and I'm willing to sign any affidavit that says so.
Okay. I would also like you to.
I was out of the state. This was definitely not me doing it or responsible for said charges. I don't know how they got there.
Can you also confirm or deny whether or not you said to your child, and I quote, "You're lucky that Uncle Logan said I can't beat you"? Was that something that you said out loud?
Yeah, that is actually something that I said out loud. I did say, you're lucky Uncle Logan says I can't beat you. But he also knows Daddy's joking because he immediately was like, Dad. So it's fine.
He knows you're joking because I immediately beat him mercilessly.
Listen, that's not even the darkest thing I said that weekend.
No, it definitely was not.
I'll go on the record. Listen, I take medication so that I try not to kill myself. We call it my don't kill myself.
Don't kill yourself medicine. Yeah.
And sometimes I forget, especially when I'm traveling, and I forgot the first night like normal. So I say to Logan on Saturday night in the hotel, all right, Logan, don't worry. I'm going to take my don't kill myself medicine. And he says, good. I wouldn't want to have to explain that to your kids. And I said, excuse me, sir. I would never do that to you. I am not some kind of monster. I would leave a note so that you don't have to do the explaining. and the note would just say, "I hope the games were worth it, Monroe."
Oh my god. You know what? Like on this dark note, I remember when I used to bartend, and anytime that there was an overly dramatic waitress, like, it would be like a Friday at a bar, like it's busy, and and they would come up to go get their drinks, and I would just like I'm just as busy and I'm just as slammed and totally in the weeds with all this stuff. And they'd come in there and they'd be like, "Oh my god, if I get another table, I'm going to kill myself." And my only response would be like, "Okay, just don't make a mess." That would be it. I'm like, just run the drinks and don't like I don't care, but like run the drinks first and don't make a mess.
run the drinks first.
For sure. I ain't running your damn drinks, but yeah.
So,
That's fair.
all jokes aside, real quick, I do want to say something. So while I didn't get to play a ton of Flesh and Blood this past week, it was just some like side kitchen table style games or whatever. I do want to say that Logan and I, we were at Origins this weekend, and we were there kind of helping demo a different card game, which is Alpha Clash. But I do want to give a shout out to all of the fappers who still showed up and tried out the new game, but also we're just happy to see us again. The number of people who walked up and said, "Hey, I love the podcast." One person actually said that they recognized by voice because they listen on Spotify. And I was like kind of blown away. That's the first time that's ever happened to me anyway. Most people, if they approach, they have at least watched us one time on YouTube. This was the first time that anybody had never like seen Logan or I. They just recognized the voice. So I thought that was kind of cool, but everybody was, kind. Nobody was judgmental over the fact that we were, there for a different card game, because they understand that we just love all card games. Like, let's be honest, we'll try just about anything. And it was very nice and refreshing to see a lot of the same people again, just in a different environment. And I hope that they all got to enjoy Origins, because it was a pretty cool event.
Yeah, it was a great event. I just to clarify, I did fucking nothing in Flesh and Blood, just full stop. I did absolutely.
Yeah, you're Abby.
I'm never as cool as Abby. Like that is a crown that my head
wait,
is not
you're as
capable
cool
of wearing.
as Dagon White.
Oh fuck! God damn it! Yeah, I don't know if you heard about this, Flake. This is fucking bullshit. So, locally, Dagon White, if there is a raffle to be won, will win it roughly 80% of the time. When Ridge was putting together his list of people that we work in the Alpha Clash booth for exhibitor badges, he listed Dagon White as one of the people. But Dagon wasn't there. Like, there's some wire crossing. It's a different con that Dagon's going to be working for them. And so he had this badge with Dagon's name on it. I'm like, "Hey, do you have any extra badges? Because I'd like to give them to my friends Jordan and Abby." And he's like, "Yeah, here are two." And one of them was Dagon's. So Abby was wearing Dagon's badge. I'm like, "Well, you got to be careful with that. There comes a lot of powers with wearing that name." She's like, "Oh, like what?" I'm like, "Well, you'll win any raffle that you enter." And she's like, "Oh, that seems like a pretty great power." She won 2 fucking raffles.
Yep.
Just wearing the badge.
She was wearing the ring. That's it. She had
that's
the
it.
wearing ring. Yeah.
She was wearing.
You know what? I love that thought even more so, and here's why, Flake. Because that means that Dagon is Frodo, which I totally see.
Yeah, that's 100%.
That also means that Abby is Samwise Gamgee, and that is so fitting because she really is the anchor of our
true
crew.
hero. Yeah,
a true hero.
Yeah. She's the one that makes sure that we're not the worst.
And then there's Jordan. Come, put the money down. Come, bet the spread. Come, my precious, bet the spread.
He's reforming too. He turned down the opportunity to go to the casino with me this weekend.
He did. I watched it. Yeah,
why? Because was there some bigger super casino he went to instead?
No,
he had consumed an inordinate amount of Skyline, and I think that had made him sleepy.
Okay.
It was an untenable amount, but yeah, Origins was great. Yeah, I absolutely loved the people that came over and were like, "Hey, I listened to the show," and I'm like, "Shit, I apologize. Like, I don't know what to do here. I can only be me for. We love it." I'm like, "Well, that'll change." And One of them, so like Ben, Black Bear Ben in the Discord, he was there because his wife was and his exhibitor. She's an artist that does some really cool crochet stuff. If you ever see her, I am a fucking terrible person, and I forgot the name of like her booth, but she'll be, I believe, at Gen Con and other things, and it's really cool. So if you're there, kind of walk around, and if you see a dude with this amazing handlebar mustache, that's Ben, and you should probably like stop at the booth and say hi. So we're walking past and I say, "Hey, Ben." And like, they're walking through and she just turns around and she's like, kind of looks kind of weird. Like, what are you? And I'm like, "Oh, he's a fapper." And she just looks at me like, "The fuck?" And I'm like, "Oh no, the podcast, like they self-selected as being called fappers. Why would anybody do that?"
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know.
Why?
Like I can't answer that. The fappers are their own animal, their own entity. They're over here, and I love them. I embrace them because they have embraced being absolute fucking nightmares in every way, shape, and form, and that makes me excited inside. And I don't know why. There are certain things that if you hit right, it's like a sounding. Do you know what a sounding rod is?
Is that the thing that Charmer beats his kids with?
No, it's the rod you insert through the tip to
Yeah,
milk the
go on.
prostate from the front.
No clue.
No clue?
Sorry.
Okay, well that's a real thing apparently, and I learned
I
that
thought
a
it was
couple
the
weeks
thing
ago.
that like old timey prospectors used to find like
That's
water
what
wells.
I said when I first found it. Because I'm like, oh, like
No,
a
those are
divining
the-
rod.
Yeah, those are the dowsing.
They're dowsing rods. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
It is definitely a sex toy, and but I feel like that is more information than anybody ever needs, so I should probably move on. Flake, Mr. DeMarco. Mr. DeMarco.
Wow, the formalities here are incredible. Thank you very much. I feel like I've just attained like super elite status with an airline. So thank you.
You have leveled some baseless accusations against the hosts of this show.
Okay. I just want to, because if this ever gets clipped, I want people to understand that this is legitimately 34 seconds removed from you talking about inserting a rod into your penis. So
consenting adults. There's nothing dubious about that.
definitely
Consent.
not. I just love the transition here. Like it's like this is one hell of a segue.
Listen.
Yeah, go on.
Listen.
This
At
is why
Flesh
we're
and
so
Pod.
upset.
We are nothing if not professionals.
Listen, this is why we're upset, because we say so much that's out of pocket anyway, that how dare you make stuff up when actual good stuff is right there.
I have literally never beat an elderly person ever, but there's
That's
plenty
not
of
true.
other people that I've beaten. Like, there, you can use that one if you want to. You fucking cuck.
Don't you worry. There's an entire. For the record, by the way, like that whole extra sauce vignette, that montage.
Describe for the people what it is. Why this is a thing?
Because we live in a capitalist society and bills need to get paid. Look, I'm just laying the foundation.
You live in
here.
fucking Canada. That's barely capitalism.
No. This is
just
how I know
because
this
I'm
is
poor.
gonna be fire. Right? When you start with like blaming capitalism, I know it's gonna be good.
Oh, you definitely.
Proceed.
So, yeah, it's gonna just like super cut this to like 5 minutes later, and the whole conversation ends with, and that's why I stormed the Capitol. Like it's just so
Different kind of capitalism.
Yeah. So okay, so essentially, part of the bigger picture here is that I've essentially sort of rebranded Instant Speed. I've sort of taken it solo. I'm Justin Timberlaking it out of the band, as it were. I've left InSync. I've done my own thing. Right?
Lance Bass at best, but go on.
First of all, Lance Bass is still out there. Joey Fatone, maybe. Lance Bass is still doing stuff.
He did beg Topanga at prom, so
that's a pretty big score.
That's a get. That's a get. Okay,
huge.
Continue. Okay, I gave you a compliment. I accept the compliment. Continue.
Part of that is also just sort of restructuring the Patreon as part of the package. And if you want people to fork over their hard-earned capitalist dollars, you got to give them some product. You got to give them a little bit of the juice. And part of that was something that I decided. It was actually an idea that I had for a long time. It was actually something that when I used to do sports radio, I pitched to the person's show that I was interning for, which was Unfair Edits, where I would essentially I wanted to take some of their interviews and recut them to make the person look like a clown in a comedic way. And I did something for them, and it was like they had some athlete on and they're interviewing them, and I recut the stuff where it was like, oh, they were asking about, like, you know, the game last night or some like big thing, and I made them sound like they just didn't care about the game or their sport or whatever. And they're like, well, yeah, it's hilarious, but we can't do that. And so the idea came up to me again with this kind of stuff, and I figured, let's do this as extra sauce, which is basically what I do is I take interviews that I've had and I cut out little clips of what people are saying, and I re-record questions to make the answers very, very, you know, negative or very puts them in a weird light. For example, I mentioned how, you know, Charmer is the world's greatest lover, and then that got cut into him saying, you know, I told that to my wife and she just started laughing. Like that, it's that. So that's what I'm hoping to do as
That's a real response, though. Like
yeah. So you're here
I was
saying
waiting
it's
for
slander.
the editing.
Well, I'm just merely cutting through all the bullshit and giving the people the actual truth through it. Okay, so this is the I don't know, what is that fucking doofus's new social media platform, like Truther or something? A Parlor, is that it? What are those?
No, I think Parlor went under. I think it's Truth Social is what you're
Truth
going
Social,
for.
exactly. I'm giving you the
Parlor,
Truth
the one that
Social.
Kanye bought, and then Truth Social is the other one. I don't know.
That's it.
Either way.
Kanye bought Parlor, and whatever.
So moving forward, Extra Sauce is going to be a Patreon exclusive sort of extra feature to the interviews that I'm going to do on Instant Speed. I'm literally just going to recut them for like these 10-minute Extra Sauce features, which are meant to be fun. And I hope that people have a sense of humor about them. But
so a couple
5
questions, you know,
hours later, and
Yeah.
that's why I stormed the Capitol.
and that's why I
Right.
stormed the Capitol. Exactly. There you go. Super cut to dude.
God damn it. So Matt, a couple of questions then. Before you released the trailer for this, you did feature several people in this trailer. Myself, Derek, Tommy Dong, as he is known affectionately on Flesh and Pod. Brendan Patrick was featured. And I want to know, did you ask anybody if they'd be okay with this before you did this?
So I did it first, and before I actually released it, I showed it to everybody involved, or basic. You saw it. You definitely saw it. Did
Not
you?
before it was released. Absolutely not.
Yeah,
Okay,
no, you sent it to us saying, "Hey, check this out."
Oh, okay. So I sent it to everyone else, asking their permission. You guys, I was like, for sure you're going to be okay with it. I mean, listen.
And that's why you ended up on our show.
Yeah, dude. I'm like, it's like me asking, you know, the troop of gorillas if it's so cool to throw some bananas at them. Of course you're going to say yes.
Fuck.
You know? So
I would.
Anyway, long story short, the only one, there was actually an extra like 30 seconds to that video, which was Elaine, and I actually had to cut it out because it really made her look terrible, and I did not want people to, you know,
Is it
was like,
because you said something like, "Hey, you know, would you ever want to get in a car with Ted Bundy?" And then she was like, "Yes,"
Oh my
because
God.
you don't need to like supercut that. She'll just
No.
admit.
Yeah, she
No.
just because she's Ted Bundy's type. You know, did you know
Dude,
that? Because she did say that out loud to us.
that whole conversation might have been one of the most obscenely like out of left field kind of conversation, like where somebody is legitimately saying out of nowhere, like we're there talking about God knows what, and she's like, you know, if I got murdered, I would hope it would be first degree. Like, I really want to know that the person was thinking about me, you know, like that I was on their mind. What? Are you kidding me? She's like, yeah, it's kind of flattering, you know. What? Elaine, what? No. Holy Moses, no.
There's no flattering murders. Like you're just dead,
Eh,
right? Oh, okay.
yeah, but
I guess there's a couple.
there could be some
Name me one
flattering
flattery
ones.
murder.
I asked, well, okay, but I asked her, so would you like want to be like, somebody like in the footnotes of Wikipedia or like a full Black Dahlia? And she's like, oh, I want to be a full Black Dahlia. And I'm like, you want a child and their mother to find your nude torso in a Los Angeles park with all limbs cut off. She's like, yeah, yeah.
Basically, what she was
be-
shooting for is she wants her own Netflix special.
I mean, that does get you that.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Yeah,
You know what she wants? She wants somebody in like some woman in their 30s like on a podcast saying like, and then they found her torso in a garbage bag. But first, this new use this code for 50% off your good foods delivery straight to your house. It's
If
like,
you're looking for comfortable socks, look to Bombas.
exactly like
right. Like
nothing.
Hashtag no free ads.
No.
Nothing honors
No.
your memory like them talking about the discovery of your body and then selling you like some sort of like
MeUndies.
No.
pubic hair shaving thing. Like,
No. It's got to be something like no job is too tough for hefty, right? Like her body was found in a trash bag.
it's
Meanwhile,
like those old school infomercials where it's like you have a dude who's like cutting through a shoe with a knife. It's like, this will go through anything: a shoe, a pipe, some bones, whatever you need.
Femur?
Yeah.
Fucking Christ.
hey, Flesh and Blood.
Yeah.
Dude,
Well, we're
that would
talking about that.
Is
Yeah,
what's
I
left
mean-
behind at a crime scene. But
Well,
also,
yeah, hit us
I-
up. I mean, there's actual news now. Like this is
there
it
is
might not be
actual
the
stuff
news
to
we
talk
want.
about, and we are supposed to be a Flesh and Blood podcast.
I do not know why I let you two fucking orangutans just go completely half-cocked. But I just did. Right when I wrote the show notes, I did this to myself because I just wrote, fuck it, we ball. And I could have tried to be orderly and write something out that made sense, but my bandwidth is so low that I'm like, you know what? I'm going to let Jesus take the wheel, and barring that, it's going to be Charmer, and he's going to run us into a barricade because the fucker can't drive.
And I'm the one who's getting us back on track. So you think about
It's
how
accidental.
Wrong
You
are.
missed that turn, and 20 minutes later, we crossed 3 bridges, and you accidentally
Just-
arrived at the right spot.
Just like with this moment in time you're referencing where you assume that I was the bad driver. You're wrong then, you were wrong now. And it's time to talk about some spoiler cards because we did get 3 since the last time we recorded a podcast.
We didn't get shit.
Oh, yeah,
but-
that's right. We didn't, but us, the royal we
The
Flesh and
royal
Blood
we. Yeah.
community got some spoiler cards. We got
We got some sick ones, that's for sure.
yeah,
So
we got
we
the
just
equipment, Tommy's cello. We got
Tommy's cello. So it's a 2 resource CAC for 8. But every time you can only use it 4 times, but the last swing is for 12. Sorry. I'm actually not sorry. Yeah, we did get 3 things, 2 for the cops and 1 for the and 1 for the what I think is the good guys of this story. So let's start with the police because I hate Sting. Oh, I love KRS-One, don't like Sting. So we're gonna start with and because I see this a lot coming up on social media, an argument about this card. We're gonna start with Lost in Thought. Illusionist action. That's the sound of the police. Yeah, I get it.
I know, but I want to keep doing it. It makes me happy.
You know what? If it makes you happy and you don't unalive yourself live on our fucking show, I guess it's recorded. I can edit it out, but I wouldn't want to do that.
Wow.
That loses fidelity. And so
oh my god, Poochie went back to his home planet.
it was just, hey man, nice shot. Like just play it over the scene.
Charmer, we love you, man. You know that.
We do. He does know that, and I think that actually bothers him.
A little bit.
Well, just a little bit. Okay. So Lost in Thought, illusionist action, cost 1, red pitch, block 2. So, never blocking. Sick art because Flesh and Blood's art keeps going harder and harder and harder as time goes on. But this has caused some polarized responses in the competitive community because of some comparisons made. But we're going to go over the text. I did discover this weekend that Charmer can't actually read. So I'm going to go ahead and read cards from now on, and that's how we get into trouble. Are you sure?
Yes, I can read. I just have a hard time reading out loud because my eyes go faster than my mouth.
Anybody else want to take a crack at that one?
Dude, that one's a freebie. We'll consider that. That's a freebie for you guys, everybody.
That's a freebie. That's a freebie for you because that's going to go on extra sauce and just burn him alive.
If you're playing the home game, ladies and gentlemen, now's the time to check that one off because you guys get points. So you can send your filled out card to fleshandpod at fappers.com and send your card in filled up, and we will send you their preview card free of charge.
I would also like to let you know that
all you want.
Okay,
you can make fun of me all you want, but I have never once had a complaint about my mouth being slow.
No notes. So back to Lost in Thought. Yeah, the text is look at target hero's hand and choose an attack action card. If you do, they put that card on the bottom of their deck and they create a ponder token. Go again. It's a majestic, so it's a card meant to do some things. The comparisons out in the world right now are to a magic card called Thoughtseize, which is a 1 black, so 1 resource, 1 mana spell that lets you look at your opponent's hand and choose a non-land card, and they discard it, and you lose 2 life. This is what we see this compared to. Now, a couple of things that I think about this card. 1, illusionists having perfect information is just like cops having evidence. They're never going to use it to convict the right person. So there's that. 2, this isn't Thoughtseize. You can't necessarily take the biggest problem. It has insane utility. The coast is clear if you want to mirage metaphor the shit out of somebody or whatever. Like, this gives you the information and also can potentially take their only popper out of their hand. So this does do a thing, and it is very good, but I don't think that the sky is falling on this one like I see the pieces of the community reacting with. And it's been polarizing. Some people have said, or a lot, I haven't seen any middle grounds. It's always been, this card is so fucking busted, rah, 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 illusionists or cops, blah, 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 Rodney King. And then the other side of it has been, this card is dog shit. It doesn't do anything. No one's going to ever play it. I think it falls somewhere in the middle. What say you, Flake?
I am very critical of people who pass enormous amounts of judgment on a card before the rest of the set is even 10% revealed. Because like you mentioned, in the same vein where you're like, well, cops with the evidence are going to convict the wrong people. They have no evidence and they're passing judgment without even going to trial. So it's the same kind of thing where people are saying this is amazing or it's dog shit. In reality, I don't know if it's even in the middle. I don't know. And I'm comfortable waiting on that, but I get how these things go because the second a card is revealed, 10 minutes later, there's a YouTube video about how broken the card is or how OP the card is or how it's going to change everything and this and that, and everybody has the most OP shit ever. The reality is, friends, you don't fucking know. You don't know. You absolutely don't know. And if you do know, you're fucking lying. So don't even start with me. That is the truth about it. Now, when I look at this card, the only context you can put it in is with whatever's already out there and the decks that are currently strong within whatever's already revealed. Is this good? What to you two right now does this card shore up Illusionist? Like, what card does this just fucking put Illusionist over the top of something or fuck with somebody like beyond repair? What card is lost in thought making people think that this is the most busted shit ever?
I mean, what are people thinking? Like, they're gravitating towards like things like Mirage Metamorph or or Frightmare, which what the fuck? The reality of it to me is this is a Dromai card. This is making Dracona Optimi better. This is making Vincerakai better. This isn't making.
This doesn't make a whole lot better.
It doesn't make a ton better.
Flake said, you don't know, but let me tell you what I do know. All right. So you're right. I don't know what's going to be printed, but I do know where this card wants to be used because let's look at what it does. It is not Thoughtseize where it's going to get rid of the card permanently. It gets rid of the card for a turn and then it's not even like true net card loss because they have the ponder token. So the use for this is to create a window to take advantage of. Like, that's the reality of what this card is doing for you. You're playing it. It does also cost a pitch. So if you're playing it in Droma, you better hope that you've got some of your blues, or else it's straight up like 2 for 1ing, which feels bad, right? Because if you're pitching a red and you're doing this, like, yeah, granted, the one first pitch for the red might also set up your furnace, yada yada. But like, for the most part, the idea of pitching a card and then playing this just to get one card out of your opponent's hand out of the gate, just that doesn't feel very good. But also, what this is trying to do is create that window of opportunity, because you can only take advantage of it the turn you're playing it, right? Yes, you can get rid of a popper, but when you play this, you have to have something that you're also trying to protect already. Now, maybe that is dragons, maybe it is a big attack, but even if, let's say it's a big, like, it's a swing for 8, right? It's like a swing for 8, and you're trying to make sure that they don't have the popper for it. Well, then you spent this card and then your swing for 8, and that's still like 2 cards for 8. That's the same as, you know, a 0 for 4 and a 1 for 4 or whatever. Like, it's not super above rate. This thing blocks for 2, and that's not good enough in my mind. So the reality is, when I look at what this is trying to do, I don't see it. The only way that this ends up being like really good, in my opinion, is if the new Prism is very good and very aggressive. Now, I do think that so far what we've seen revealed, it looks like new Prism is going to play harder into Heralds, because the new weapon obviously is leaning on Go Again. Some of the other things that we've seen as well seem to kind of back that up. So there is a chance that new Prism is aggressive enough where this makes it worth your time. But if you don't do something to take advantage of them being down a card, and let's be honest, like, being aggressive is how you do that, this feels awful. So the reality is, I don't think it will see a ton of play, like as a staple. At best, I think this ends up being a side card just because of how you want to use it. And if it is a sideboard card, then it will likely only be your Illusionist into Brutes and Guardians, because you're trying to get rid of that popper, or you're trying to, you know, get rid of maybe some additional crackback if you're kind of worried about them trying to race you. So usually the only defense they have is to race you as the Illusionist. So perhaps you're just trying to slow them down in that regard. But ultimately, I don't think this card is broken at all. And I think that it's not so bad it will never see play. But I also think that, like, you're really looking at a sideboard card with some niche uses. Now, I did all of that, but I want to also say this last bit. Ethan, I love you, man. You're a great guy. However, you will someday lose to somebody playing this against you while you're piloting Levia, and they'll get rid of the only card that cancels your blood debt. And you're going to be mad about it. And I'm sorry, mate. I just know it's happening because you have bad luck. Every time I've ever been around Ethan when he's playing Levia, excuse me, I said Levia earlier. I know it's Levia. Every time I've been around him and he's playing Levia, he does really well, and then he gets like one game where he gets all the bad luck. And I can already see it coming. When I saw this card, that's the first thing I thought of. I was like, some poor Levia player is going to have only one way in their hand to turn off blood debt, and someone's going to lost in thought and get rid of it, and they're going to take like 10, 15, something ridiculous. And then it's going to feel really OP. But again, that's a really niche scenario.
All right, I just want to add on a quick thing about this. And if Levia is wheels back into relevance and becomes, you know, a meta choice, and, you know, props to whoever that dude was who played the titanium bauble, and that's their shtick, and that's, you know, that's what the, you know, their whole
Joe
thing
Biden,
is.
Kanye, West Fanboy Burger.
Whatever, I don't care. I honestly don't care. If Levia becomes something that actually has a significant chunk of the pie at a, you know, in the metagame, this could very well be a sideboard card that people will play for the precise reason that Charmer mentioned, because it's a game-changing play. It's absolutely a game-changing play. But I also want to talk about this card from the context of knowing what the hell's in your opponent's hand. So you kind of know what's coming your way. You can kind of position yourself in certain ways, what to put in the arsenal, what not to put it. But beyond that, when you're talking about getting rid of a popper against a brute or a guardian, hey, I hate to tell you, they probably have 3 in their hand. So this ain't going to save you. What it is going to do, however, is let's say you play this against a Guardian, you look at their hand and they're like, oh shit, they've got, you know, only one blue. You're probably peeling the blue out of their hand and getting rid of that because that stops their entire turn. So I see value in the card, but this to me is probably in no way, shape, or form any kind of main deck type of card. And depending on what the meta is, I highly suspect that this is going to be a sideboard card. And again, the cost of one, the 2 block, it's like pair this with a Tunic turn. You know, you play it for free. It opens up some go agains because it's a red. That could be cool. You get information. You take a card out of your opponent's hand. You mess up their turn. But I genuinely don't see this card making main deck for illusionist at all. I really don't, because there's a lot of other cards out there that looked at people's hands and they don't see play. I mean, there's wizard cards that do it and they don't care about those. Mind you, most wizard cards are out there just to, you know, the Kanos are there to burn you down in one turn. But
Right.
even like the grindier Icelander stuff, like I guess she played what was it? There was Brain Freeze, but
Yeah,
even
brain
those,
freeze.
but Brain Freeze wheeled out of relevance too. Like that was a meta dependent thing. Like maybe it was worth it, like against Briars and other zero cost things. Like you can get a card out of the way, like against ninjas. But I really don't think this card is anywhere close to the stratosphere that people are pushing it towards.
No, I don't either. I think that I think that perfect information for illusionists is a very important thing for them specifically. But I also think that you guys are right. Like there is a cost. If this costs 0, we'd have a different discussion, right? Then you don't require the Tunic turn. It's not a pitch. It's not that type of thing.
Let me ask you this, Charmer. You're playing illusionist. You're
Mm-hmm.
throwing a herald at somebody, okay? You're
Mm-hmm.
throwing a herald of erudition or whatever. You got a card to pitch to play it, or, you know, whatever. You've got the resources. Would you rather spend those resources to open your turn with this, or would you rather save those resources to pummel the living shit out of that herald that you sent?
I mean, if you're asking me, the answer is always pummel.
Yeah, but
Like
I honestly believe that
I believe like pummel is the first commandment of the Flesh and Blood Bible, but that's just me.
right.
That being said, I do think that it's, you know, if I'm being honest, right? Like if I'm taking off my charmer hat and I'm putting on my like fab analysis hat, right? I do think that it's actually not just a straight one or the other. It is very situational, because there are definitely times where I think that knowing the information, but also potentially disrupting them, is going to be more important than the pummel. I think if you're in the lead, then you want the pummel, you want to continue the pressure. If things are tight or you're trying to play catch up, then I think, you know, seeing their hand and potentially removing their best attack for, you know, the following turn to buy yourself some time, because it's your choice, as opposed to hoping that the pummel gets there and they get to make the choice of the card they discard, might be more relevant. But again, like most of the time I'm going to pick pummel because it's also plus damage. Like that's the thing that I keep coming back to on this, right? Is that at the end of the day, you are paying a resource and this blocks too, and this doesn't help you deal damage by itself. It has no plus value. Like even if this had like, you know, your next attack also gets +2, +1, something, but this does nothing other than maybe make sure that you get damage through or give you info or whatever. And that's like, it's not bad, but like, do
But
I want to pay for it?
But playing back into some of what Flake said about knowing other cards in the set, we know that the card Angelic Wrath exists. So if we go back into your pummel example, it's Porque no los dos. Like you can just, if you have Angelic Wrath, your pummel costs fucking 0. Like, let's be real here. There are other things we don't know about, and there are other things we fucking do know about that are potentially very problematic. So against a matchup where it's like, okay, they play some number of poppers, we can kind of look and see if we have the coast is clear to do some major damage. There's the ability with the new Luminaris to give a Herald of Erudition go again. You have Angelic Wrath to go over the top of anything that they're doing with equipment or anything else, and then you draw 2 cards and just keep the train running. That, and if you can find out the coast is clear before you're pulling that kind of bullshit, that's a lot. That makes a big fucking difference in how you play. So I feel like I I think Flake is right, and that is the worst thing I've ever felt saying in my goddamn life. But not exactly. The first time I said I do was pretty horrible. But in this case, I think we're limited by what we don't know. If this version of Prism is that much more aggressive and doesn't really give a shit about necessarily having a bunch of yellows and can play through some other things where you can pitch a blue, have a flicker, have a lost in thought turn with 2 floating to just go do the other things with it too. Maybe that's a real play pattern. We don't actually know. I do also agree with Charmer though, where there are on the surface for what we know now, there are just fucking better things to do. Like we have better things. This is a role player in the current environment. I just don't know if it's that it's a mere role player later. That's I guess where I fall on this. Anybody else want to get in there? Because y'all have been just like bickering back and forth like school children for the last fucking 7 minutes.
I think that it's gonna play a role in a particular type of deck, and I don't think that deck exists yet. Is what I'll say.
Okay,
and
right.
That's not
because,
me.
Well, I was just gonna say because again, like the entire point of that card is it creates a window that you need to then take advantage of, and I don't think that there's a deck that exists right now that does that consistently enough to want to run the card.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I agree with that. Moving on from Lost in Thought and still talking about cops though, we're gonna go to Flicker Trick, which is an illusionist defense reaction, which is, there's some things that play this game already, but this costs 0 with 5 block, which is a giant sink below at this point. But it has a new ability called Mirage. Mirage reads when this is defending a non-illusionist attack with 6 or more power, destroy this, or 6 or more attack, destroy this. Clash is poisoning me. I don't know what to think of this card. Help.
Oh, it like you look at it, and again, it's basically reverse phantasm, right?
Yeah, it's inverted phantasm.
It's reverse phantasm, and ultimately, Flicker Trick to me, it's a sideboard hero, is what it is. Much in the same vein that I thought that, for example, Is That All You Got was a sideboard sort of hero. It'll depend on what the meta is, because if the meta becomes big attacks, this is complete garbage. You'll never be able to play this. It's a wasted slot. But when you're looking at decks like, for example, Katsu, or you're looking at decks that I'm trying to think here, like Phi, for example. If those low to the ground types attacks, or Lexi, even, I think Lexi's a perfectly okay thing to think about, because Lexi doesn't play a lot of pumps. Usually what you see is what you get when the arrows are flinging your way. It's like, okay, this is, it's my or what, whatever you want to call it, my my endless arrow, is coming in for 5. All right, I'll cover it up for 5. You plus 1'd it, and
Sure.
It's 5. That's what we're talking about. The thing about this is, what on the surface it looks really good because it's a 5 block, but what you're doing here is you're basically saying no blocks, and then you jam this out. Because if you're blocking further and then they come on top of you, you can't play this anymore.
Doesn't do anything.
It doesn't do anything. So you're giving your opponent a free ride. It's a very risky play in certain decks, because if your opponents are playing combat tricks, this is a very, very risky play. It leaves you very open to getting blown out on turns that you don't even want to take any damage. Because let's say they come at you with something like Endless Arrow for 5, and then for some reason they jam, I don't know, a lightning press or a
lightning
razor
press. Sure.
Yeah, you are not just taking a little bit of damage, you're taking all of it, and you're giving them the card right back, and you're losing your Flicker Trick. So to me, this is a card that is going to be very, very meta dependent. It's a 3 of in the sideboard against certain heroes. It's going to put in a lot of work but people are going to be keeping, their finger in the air, testing the winds to see if this is like, you guys go to tournaments. When you show up, you don't show up with 80 cards. You show up with like 90 to 100,
90,
and you
90 cards, yeah.
yeah, and you're like, all right, morning of, I'm just going to pick my 80 because I want to see which ways the wind's blowing. That's
Mhm.
this card.
Yep, I agree with you. My problem with this card is that if it's not blocking exactly 5, what is it doing?
Yeah.
Because the worst
risk
sink below.
reward.
Right, I get that. So tell me, if this isn't blocking 5, like let's say that I've got one use for this outside of it not blocking 5 immediately. And that's, if you're blocking a 4-power whelming out of Katsu, at least you've covered the ancestral, right?
And the breaking
But
scale.
And the breaking
No.
skills, yeah. I mean, but not both.
No, not
Not
both.
both.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like-
not both. And that's the trouble, right? Because what if they do have both? And then you're screwed. This is why, again, I had like this conversation with, some of the Polish pros, and they're like, this card is trash. And I
don't think it's good.
it's again, sideboard hero, baby. That's what this card is.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, your Endless Arrow example is actually spot on. Or like, because of stupid shit like Call Down the Lightning, you're covering up Chilling Ice Veins for 5 and stuff like that is also super relevant now. Or anything else that causes those insane on hits.
Hear me out.
Exist.
Is there?
I'm willing to hear you out.
Is there a world where, because this is just Illusionist, right? So like Dromai could potentially play this, right? And it does pitch for red, so it kind of helps her. Is there a world where this is the kind of card that you actually just intend to play second cycle after you've drawn out the stuff you're worried about, and then it's just value?
I don't think that the red line decks that this would be in cares about second cycle.
I mean, I agree. I'm just
like
trying to figure out
right?
like where you want to use this over like a sink below or something, right?
Okay.
And so,
well, okay, that's the conversation. Is does this replace Sink Below in that deck? Because I don't think you're running all 6, and I am much more inclined to run Sink Below to fix my hand as well. Because
Or Fate Foreseen, either way.
right, like we mentioned, this is a feast or famine card. You either feel really fucking good playing this and covering up a 5-attack Endless Arrow and feeling like a champ, or you feel like a donkey when this does nothing against Guardians, because if you
Actual
notice
0.
If you notice, it also says when this is defending a non-illusionist attack, not attack action. So weapons are in play. Because what I was thinking about this, when I first read this, I got really excited because I was like, wow, this covers up all weapons. But because I thought it said attack action, I'm like, Dorinthia can get gooned by this. Guardians are gonna pummel. Anathos for 6 is gonna get chewed up with this kind of stuff. And then you read it again, you're like, a beefed up Anathos is gonna chew this in half.
Right. Like it's not. I don't know what the use case for this card is. I have struggled with it, and I just don't know.
There are 2 ways this is good. One way is actually like right now that it's good, and one is a potential future way that it's good. So the way that it's good right now is it has, at least thus far, my favorite art from the new set. Like the art is yes, this art is outstanding. This one. The ninja looking like I got you, but then has this like moment of fear in his eyes. Her little smirk, the way she's disappearing. I've already seen like some photos of this potentially being a mat, and I want one. Also, let me just throw out there, like I'm normally very anti-illusionist, but when we finally get Amira Serrana, I might convert, because every time I see her, she looks like she's having fun.
Mazel tov.
So anyway, I do
cop.
like legitimately, I love the art on this. I genuinely do. That being said, the way that it's potentially good in the future is that this does have that Mirage keyword. And while right now that's like the detriment. If there are ever effects that let you search for a mirage or play a mirage like from your discard pile or do something specific that is, you know, with that keyword for the class, and then suddenly it's a little bit more, you know, impactful or just gives you more opportunities to play it when it matters or when you have the full information, stuff like that. Like the fact that this is not just, you know, a 0 for 5, there's a keyword involved, means that in the future, because I don't think that it exists right now, but in the future there could be some iteration of an equipment or a card or an effect where suddenly this is a lot more attractive.
Okay.
This
I'm gonna move.
this for this set, I'm just throwing this out here. This for this set is my shurikens. Like it's a bad
your dog
card.
shit card. Okay, yeah.
It's a bad card that has potential to be much better in the future if it gets cards that interact with it.
I'm more offended by this being your favorite art in the set. I understand that art is subjective, but you're subjectively wrong, because the next card is Diabolic Offering. This is better. I don't know if you knew that, but the demon coming out of the person's spine is much cooler than Whoopsie Daisy.
Yeah, the art in this set is unreal, dude. Like, and I'm looking at it on the Fabrary website, like on their card gallery. They have like a spoiler.
Hashtag no free ads.
Anthem of Spring is right next to it. The art on Anthem of Spring is incredible.
Better
card.
And
on the other flank of Diabolic Offering is United We Stand. Like, and below it is Alluring Inducement. Like, the art on this set is unreal.
Yeah. The art on the set is unreal.
And Phantom Banshee and Vincent exist. Like, what the fuck's your problem?
Yeah, Phantom Banshee is my second favorite so far. That one was up there. I really like the story being told in Flicker Trick. I just think that it nails.
You're a goofy bitch. That's what I'm getting out of this.
Listen, it's the highest of praise because I'm not an illusionist guy. This is not normally my thing, but this is just a great piece.
You're a material girl. That's what I'm getting out of this. But
in a Mirage world, yeah.
In a Mirage world, you're correct. But Diabolic Offering is the juice, baby. Like, I think that this is... I hate this because right now it's a great card for a bad hero. And it's on its surface a little bit fucked up. But we're going to get there with this. Diabolic Offering. I know, Flake, I'm watching you. There's a lot to talk about here. So just hold your dick a minute. I know that you don't need both hands. So just kind of chill. We're going to read the card and then we're going to talk through things. That's how we do things here. I'm using my dad voice to explain to you because otherwise you won't fucking listen. At any rate. So it's a blue pitch, which is awesome. 1 cost, love it. It's a star, so it does not have a printed attack and defense. Has blood debt because Shadow Brute. Attack action. If a card with 6 or more attack has been put into your banished zone this turn, Diabolic Offerings attack and defense are 6. Otherwise, they are 0. Flake, you are humming so hard over there that I feel like you're going to undo the construction that's been happening in your apartment. Can you please just go?
This card is a D-React. This card is never going to be used to attack. This card is never going to do anything but block 6.
Awesome.
I know, and that's great. I'm not saying it's a bad card. I'm saying it's an excellent card. This with Art of War, banish a 6, satisfy blood debt, block for 6. Oh, wait, block for 7 because it's an attack action. So here is a block for 7 card. That is just unreal. So there's your unmovable, ladies and gentlemen.
But why not play this offensively with Art of War so that we banish a card, draw 2, give our next attack go again, and then we're 1 resource 6 go again.
Yeah, I mean, but you can do that with any 6. You can do that with any 6 cost, right?
Oh no, I get that, but like the juice on this thing is it's a 1 cost. that attacks
Oh,
for 6.
sure. It's a 1 cost 6, which is really incredible. That's absolutely 100% awesome. Don't get me wrong.
But it's not
However,
movable. Yeah.
but it's a fucking block 7 with it when you play Art of War with this. And Levias are going to play Art of Wars. You kind of need to. But ultimately, Diabolic Offering is a 7 block card, by the way. That's what I'm trying to put out there, because everyone's like, oh, you can block, everyone's looking at the oh, it's a blue 6 attack. No, it's not. It's not a blue 6 attack. It's a 7 block, ladies and gentlemen. It's a 7 block, and it's really good.
The question that I want to ask is the potential block value on this enough to make people actually consider running Blood Tribute?
What's Blood Tribute again?
I was gonna say, and before anybody says what is Blood Tribute, because I know you were gonna say that.
Oh my!
It's a shadow instant, and it's a full cycle. So there's blue, yellow, red, where you either opt 1, 2, or 3, and then banish the top card of your deck, and it's a 0 cost instant. So like the idea is you could block with that card, and then do the opt, banish, and then satisfy it.
Nah,
is it enough? It does feel like too much work, but it does also still let you do the opt shenanigans and whatever. I'm not convinced it's worth it, but I also so what got me going down that path, and the reason I even started thinking about it is like, I want the scenario where I'm swinging with this for a 0, and then I banish something like at instant speed after they've said no blocks because I'm swinging for 0, and then you come in for the 6. Like, I was like, how do I do that?
Because for that trap, right?
You say that, but listen, hear me out. Who's gonna block a 0 cost attack? Like, if I pay and I swing for 0, right? Are you gonna give up cards in your hand? Because if so, then I'll just not activate it. Fine, thanks.
But let me ask you this then. let's say they do block it, and now you just have a do nothing instant in your hand.
But
I guess you'll still play it. Like, I feel like you're still going to end up playing.
Or arsenal it. I mean, whatever.
I mean, maybe, but maybe you got something in your arsenal already. Like, the thing about it is, like, when it comes to deck building, I trust me, I love these kinds of exercises, these mental exercises of trying to figure out these combos. New cards come out, and the beauty of this is that they revive old cards. That's what I love about this.
I was just about to say, so the other card then to consider, as you talk about like reviving old cards and whatever, and this is something that never really went away, it's just not been seen for a bit, is Ebonfold. Ebonfold's the other instant way that you do it. The Spell Void to headpiece for Shadow, where that one you have to pay. It's a pay a red, and then if I remember, you banish the card from your hand. If it's a Shadow card, you get to replace it. But like, that's another way that you can still activate it, right? So I do like the mind game of, as long as Ebonfold is on the board, like, you can swing for 0, and then if they do block, like let's say they drop 2 block 3s in front of it, then you just don't activate your Ebonfold.
Yeah. The thing about it is, like, I keep falling back to the fact that it's cool to revise and pair these up with older pieces to sort of get these things, but then you're basically putting in bad cards in your deck.
You're playing Levia. All your cards
I get
are
it.
bad.
I know. I trust me. I absolutely know. I totally get it. It's like, it's like going to a Drake concert and then getting mad he didn't play the song you like. They're all bad. They're all terrible. So don't even worry about it.
Christ.
Okay? Like that, you can't complain. You paid for a ticket to Drake, so you're not allowed to complain. But if you're putting in a few of those other cards you said, I forgot what they were, Blood Tribute or something like that, or whatever the hell it was called.
Blood Tribute is the other one.
Yeah. Then you need to have them both at the same time to do your little smoke and mirrors play. Where if that's your whole game plan, why not just run a better attack and get the cards out of them? But it's like, if there's no on hit effect, it's not like an Azuri, smoke and mirrors play where you're doing a little switcheroo on them. I honestly, people, like, you have to understand that it's not a defense reaction for 7. You're not paying anything. You block 7 for free from hand. And then the card recurs itself by an Art of War play. You get the cards back or whatever, or another banishment effect, and something along those lines. I get it that there's still another moving piece, but you can't understate how important a block 7 is with still the opening of a defense reaction move on top if they want to get even greasier on you. I think that the card is
Greasy.
I think the card is great. I think that it's better positioned as a defensive tool than anything else.
So, quick question from what you guys think. I'm reading the card, and does this mean that the power and defense change is regardless of zone that it's in? I would assume so.
What do you mean?
So, like, let's say you
so-
banished a 6 and it's in your graveyard. Is this now a 6 in your discard pile? Is this now a 6 in your discard?
Yeah, I would say so. I would assume so. I don't think that the card loses any of its. I mean, if a card's in your banish zone, does it lose blood debt? No, the text still counts. The
Sure.
numbers still count. I think that I get what you're saying. Like, if you're banishing stuff out of your graveyard in order to satisfy Levia's game text, and this happens to be one that you banish, and you've already banished a 6, I think that this satisfies it. I think that
you've already satisfied at that point.
You've already satisfied. But yeah, I mean, Charmer, you want to talk to us about satisfying multiple times?
I don't think he does.
No. Pass.
Ah, boy, he hasn't served in a while, it turns out. But yeah, I think that the other part of this reveal was that it revealed a reference to a card called Levia Redeemed. Now, let's take a minute, because I know that I'm me being me and liking to spitball about things. I was spitballing about Levia getting the Starvo treatment. That, I don't want to be right about that Levia is going to get the Starvo treatment, but and Derek, you and I have talked about this a little bit, but Flake, I want you to take a stab at this. What would you do to a Levia hero to give it the Starvo treatment?
Levi, like, if Levi didn't have blood debt, she'd be winning tournaments, right? Like, I think
Sure.
right? Like that, without that sort of pressure and without that sort of self-wound. I think that the Starvo treatment for her would be something along the lines of, at the end of every turn, banish a random card from your graveyard. Just like an easy way to do it. Or 2, or banish 2. That could be detrimental, because let's say you're just banishing too much and then you've got nothing to satisfy at the end of the game, but all you have to do is just put a 6 in your graveyard, and at the end of the turn it's auto satisfied, right? And or along the lines of, and if you do, but the Levia game text is is like, if you banish a 6, you don't take blood debt, right?
Hmm.
I think that her game text would be something along the lines of, like, if she got the Starvo treatment, it would have to be something like, at the end of your turn, you gain a life, or something like that.
So mine was, at the beginning of your turn, shuffle 3 cards from your banished zone back into your deck. The next brute attack you play gains +2 and go again. That to me,
like legit Starvo.
the Starvo treatment. Like,
Nuts.
because she would not have the ability to turn off blood debt. Like, naturally, there'd be no banishing to turn off blood debt, but you're shuffling cards at random from your banish zone back into your deck. The only problem I see with that is things like Carrion Husk, because shuffling equipment back into your deck isn't a thing that we do, right?
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, I don't, like, this is gonna sound terrible. I don't give too many shits about Levia. Like, it hasn't been,
right?
But no, but like, I understand that she's gonna get some steroids in this set, as all the other, like, many heroes have gone through those sort of
The Lex Luger treatment, as you were.
exactly.
I mean, isn't the Starvo treatment really just the? I mean, she would have a new ability or something like that, but like she would have to be Shadow and Light, right?
I mean, that would be the true Starvo treatment.
Oh, dude!
And there are a number of like light, not light illusionist, because don't get me wrong, like I don't want her to have heralds.
No
Like,
cops.
that's nightmares. But there are light attacks, just straight light, that I think Levia would like to run in some scenarios, right? There's like the Celestial Cataclysm. I think the red invigorating light hits that 6 threshold. We just saw United We Stand, which, you know, I think
Is a
is still meant to
6.
be a PvE card, but it is at least still 6. Plus, you know, whatever else hasn't been revealed for this set. Assuming that, you know, a Shadow Light Levia cares about that 6 threshold still.
Oh, that's interesting, actually. Like Shadow Light Levia, you know, because the redeemed portion does start to point towards light again, but we're getting Shadow Brute actions that also could lend you to having Light Brute actions too.
But well, why does it have to be? Why does she have to be Shadow Light? Like, why can't she just be Light like Light Brute?
Because we have Shadow Brute actions being printed in this set.
Sure, but
Well,
those just play with the old Leviathan.
The answer to that question, again, like if you're doing the true Starvo treatment, it's because you still want her to be able to play the cards from her original class. Like Bravo was still able to play Bravo cards when he became star of the show. He just also got the other stuff, right? So
Yeah,
Levia has, you know, always been Shadow Brute, and like her original core identity is based on that. I think that you turn off too much of her identity if you don't give her access to some of her previous class cards. So I think she would have to be.
I mean, show of hands if you give a shit about Levia. Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, I kind of just leave this.
I care about like the rules update because I want to know what the interaction with Beast Within is for Diabolic Offering.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Logan was talking about, like, do you think that the values change in like the banish zone or whatever? And I do think that's the case for Diabolic Offering, but I wonder about the timing because Beast Within, what I want to know is if you banish the top card of your deck and the top card is Diabolic Offering, does it count as 6 for resolving that because it's happening all at the same time? I feel like the answer should be yes, because again, you want it to play into your brute strengths, but that one's one I'm gonna like wait for the rules, you know, kind of trailer, rules reprise, whatever it is they call them.
Yeah.
Just to check it out.
Oh, I don't know.
I'll let I'll
let Josh Scott handle that one.
Yeah, Josh can figure that one out, and it'll be the Levia people that will.
Yeah, does it count for Beast Within? Can I get a Big Mac? And will you marry me?
Yeah, best dude. Love that
what
guy.
A guy, dude. Yeah, he's awesome.
All right, we're gonna tackle a listener question, I think, because it sounds like something that's fun to do. We're gonna save the other one for a different
for a
smarter guest. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, kinda.
I was gonna say
someone who would give a shit about the question, which you wouldn't.
Probably.
Like, because you would just be like, I don't fucking care.
What is the question? Out of curiosity.
No,
it's
not
probably about Levia.
It's actually about Cube, which is something that Flake has never done.
Oh, I don't fucking care. Yeah.
So yeah, right. Like, I'm not doing that. So the question we're gonna address today is from a guy, from a listener named Jim Neben or Jim Neban or.
This is just Ben. So he's actually one of my locals. Hello, Ben, if you're listening. Love you. Fellow Bravo Oldham player. He's a Guardian fan. So you would like.
Are you doxing Ben right now?
Sure. I'm just
His
saying.
Blood type is
he's a Michigander, and I have a lot of respect for my fellow Bravos in Michigan. So Clark, if you're listening, shout out to you. Ben, if you're listening, you also have my respect. Though Ben, though he's mostly Guardian, he did top 8 one of the Road to Nationals with a Kano. He sadly didn't make the top 4 to qualify with Kano, but he did top 8 with a Kano. So that was also fun.
Well, all right.
Yeah, he's trying to set me up on a blind date, dude. Like, I don't need to know the guy's social security number for Christ's sake.
Listen. We care about our listeners, and so I am just saying, you know.
Yeah, Flake clearly doesn't.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Fuck you,
your listeners? Yeah, no, I love them all. They're my friends as well. I hang out more in your Discord than I do in my own. Mine is
which is so funny.
Fucking crickets all day long, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, ours is not. It's but there's a lot of just tomfoolery and dipshittedness that happens, and most of it's my fault.
Mm-hmm.
No,
So,
there's actually a lot more. He just doesn't know about it because he doesn't have
I
Pickle
mute
Posse.
the Pickle Posse channel. I don't need this shit in my life. Like, get the fuck out of here with your pickle monster energy drink horse shit. I don't need that. I don't even need the knowledge that that exists. I don't need to know that there's brined fucking energy drinks. Like, that sounds like something I would prefer to douche with, and I don't douche. So, not doing it. Wow.
Listener questions.
So from Jim Neben, Ben, whatever. You're already been doxed. Would Flesh and Blood benefit from pre-con CC decks? It doesn't need to be fully tuned, but has majestic equipment and a decent upgrade path. Also, are you guys okay with unique cards being in pre-cons like Glistening Steel Blade? Derek, I think that I want your take first.
So, do I think that Flesh and Blood would benefit from pre-con CC decks? Absolutely. Anytime that you have more introductory products, more paths for players to fall in love with your game, I don't see that as a negative. Whether or not it's financially viable for them is a different story, right? The putting together packaging, shipping versus the demand. I don't know that you could justify it from a business sense, but just from like, do I think that it could be a benefit for onboarding and for the community and building the community? Yeah, absolutely. I personally am not a huge fan of cards that are limited to the pre-constructed decks like Glistening Steelblade, just because it can kind of create this like weird artificial demand, and it also feels bad for your established players. So as your game grows and that gets larger and larger, if they have to, buy something where they're literally buying the entire thing just to get access to those cards, that feels bad, or you're forcing them into a secondary market. And as somebody who doesn't like to do that, that also feels bad. So I mean, and I know that's a personal preference thing, but I just don't like chasing it. And it's funny because Logan and I were just talking this weekend about some of our old Magic memories, and we were talking about making a ton of money off of Magic precons because of Umezawa's Jeet. So yeah, I would like
Rat
to
Catcher precon.
Yeah, I would like to avoid that kind of scenario as well.
I gotta say, like, I think Flesh and Blood is a game that doesn't allow much. There's not much margins for you to really succeed with. Like, I've seen the amount of articles, the amount of videos. Oh, win your RTN with this budget deck costs only $50 or whatever. I'm sorry to say, like, you're not. It's not good enough, and like Flesh and Blood has put out so many introductory products so far. They've had the classic battles, which was a flop. They've put out there's the Blitz decks that come out all the time. Those have gotten actually reimagined and redesigned with outsiders because they were kind of outdated from what was already out there.
I actually really like the new history pack ones.
Yeah, those are cool too. Like, don't get me wrong, I think those are awesome. Every player that enters a new game will buy starter decks. Will test out the game. If they like the mechanics, they'll buy a box and then they'll go from there. Nobody wants to try this game out, sit down and play like a 50-minute slog fest trying to sort out the rules. They want quick games, they want quick resolutions to find out whether they like the game, if they have it there or not. If you're putting together CC lists, the hardest part is going to be balancing them, because you don't want the Bravo CC precon to just constantly dummy the Katsu one, let's say. And not only that, but if a player does like it, how good is that deck going to be out of the box, and how much more money are they going to have to spend to go ahead and put it together, or to make it competitive viable? What are you putting in there? And I get it. It's like, okay, well, it's a precon of, let's say, Bravo. So we're going to put in like 2 Spinal Crushes, 2 Crippling Crushes. We'll put in a bunch of the other stuff that's in there. We're not going to give you Tectonic Plating. Don't even think about it. We're not giving you a decent headpiece. Don't even think about it. You're not getting Crater Fist. Don't even think about it. We'll give you Goliath Gauntlet, maybe. You know, we'll give you something. But if you're going to pay 30 to 35 bucks for that,
I mean, you can give them best in slot boots.
but I mean, sure, iron. You know what? Iron hides or
Rot? Yeah,
iron
Iron
something.
Rot. Got it.
But what I'm getting at here is that the player that's going to invest $35 into this, that $35 is probably best spent on an E-Strike and the extra $5 to buy all the commons and rares from that deck, which is probably going to be a lot of it, because the player is going to look at that and say, all right, I played against my other buddy who has a precon. I just got dummied. I went 0-3 in my armory because this deck is nowhere close to good enough for anything. And now I still got to pay. It was $35 wasted. And I get it with the same thing kind of happens with the blitz decks, but at least that's a lower barrier of entry. It's like $10. The games are quick, and usually that's your first step into it. That's your first toe in the water. That's how you see if you like the mechanics. The next logical step after that is not a pre-con CC. It's building up your blitz deck or jumping into CC constructed and actually constructing your deck with good cards. The upgrade level begins with blitz and goes that way, I find, from that. But even then, this sort of always goes back to the initial discussion, which is that Flesh and Blood's entry, barrier of entry, everybody talks about cost. It's not necessarily about cost all the time. It's about products that will allure people into it, events that allure people into it. One of the greatest things that I've ever heard happen was when MinMax Games did everybody showed up when Oldham was Living Legend out. They're like, all right, everybody come in, everybody gets a free Oldham starter deck, and we're having a free tournament. You know, everybody just gets a free deck, and let's have some fun. That's a great entry thing. You know, that's a great way to start. People do this. I think like Sin on stream in Pittsburgh did something where he taught a lot of people to play, and it was like free to enter. And he like a lot of LGSs take this initiative on their own. They build their own little pre-con decks for free, or they cost $5.
We do it here. We do it here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And but people are not going to go out there in the same vein that somebody buys. Like if we're talking about other games, Magic doesn't do this. Magic doesn't have pre-con starter standard decks.
No.
Are you kidding me? If they did, they'd be like,
so that's where you're wrong.
well,
because
standard.
There are pre-constructed standard decks and pioneer decks that are called challenge decks in Magic. They are about 80% of a tuned deck. Now, this is where you're going to get me starting in on shit, because they cost like $30. But what always invariably happened is they usually came out months after the most recent set of standards. So like they were actually legal for roughly 6 months. And the portion of this was that they would print staple cards in them and absolutely tank the secondary market value of everything that was printed in them. So all of a sudden you Runaway Steamkin, right? Like they're just going to use a card. They made this mono red card that was absurd. It did fucking absurd things. It's broken as shit. I spec'd on it. I sold out before I got I got in and I got out. Yes, it's Aether Revolt. I got in, I got out. And then they printed, but it was like, a $4 or $5 staple that people would be like, okay, I'm going to drop $20 on Runaway Steamkins. And then a couple months later, they print the red standard challenge deck with 4 Runaway Steamkins in it, and now they cost 10 cents. Like, that is so backbreaking to people that spend money on collectible card games. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that because I think that's Decipher's copyright. But on trading card games, that when you start impacting those markets in a very negative way, it has a ripple effect. Now, that being said, there is a difference in Flesh and Blood with it being an eternal game that doesn't have rotations, because those cards are never actually useless until the hero Living Legends out. So if you wanted to buy like a Leviathan starter deck, you'd be totally safe because that's trash. And But more to your point with min-max, I mean, I don't think min-max was having a sudden moment of altruism with giving out Oldham decks. They were giving away decks that were fucking useless because the hero's living legend in all formats.
Sure.
Like they weren't sitting there going, it'd be great. We can just cultivate our community. They were saying, I've got piles of useless product. Let's see if we can turn these into consumers. It's not the same thing. There's no such thing as real altruism, by the way. That's just fucking fake. So that being said, if you want my takes on humanity, please join the Kickergart's Corner channel in our Discord, because I will get deep on you. And I don't mean in a Tommy way. But it really does have ancillary impacts that people don't think about. And that's what usually bothers me. If you want a game to succeed, you have to pay attention to all three pillars. If you lose sight of one, especially after you've created them, you will fucking fall. It is just a tale as old as time. So you need to be very careful when you're doing shit like that.
All right, so I want to roll this back real quick to why I think someday we probably will get classic constructed decks available. And it's because I think that when PvE launches, there's going to be
in 2029, sure,
multiple ways to play the campaign, as you will, including ways where you start as the young adventurer and you end up as the old grizzled veteran. And so that means that there will likely be at some point PvE entry level decks for the full transition. Now,
yeah, but they'll be on sale on the Meta Quest 9 in 2030.
Is that something that will like be tournament viable? No. Is that something that's going to help you with your upgrade pass? No. I'm just spitballing here. I think that it'll happen someday. I hope that it'll happen someday, because that means Flesh and Blood's still around in 2029.
Only in VR. Only in VR.
Am I the only one who doesn't give a single fuck about people who buy and sell cards and market value of cards, like what that does to people's investments and shit like that? Am I the only one who literally could not give a single shit when people are like, yeah, but it'll tank the market on the, like, I don't care. I really don't. I fucking make Tunic a common. I don't give a fuck, dude. I really don't. I like.
Then
I'm not
people
saying
don't buy. Then people don't buy packs anymore. Then your business collapses and you die. What the fuck? Who cares?
Okay, I want the game to be accessible. Obviously, that's a complete fucking like people.
Then just print proxies. Who cares? Don't buy cards. Who the fuck cares if you buy cards? Then just print them at home. It's the same fucking thing. It has the text on it. Then who gives a shit about the secondary market, Flake? Proxies for all tournaments. Then who needs to buy anything? It doesn't work. It's not how business operates. You socialist fuck. Sorry, I had to get that one in there. It was just too much fun.
I'm actually
American ignorant fucking idiots.
And I'm
I don't know what else I don't know. If you're gonna throw the Canadian shit at me, I'm gonna throw it right back.
I am pro accessibility. I am pro everybody should have access to the cards. So I'm there. However, I would like to be hired for broadcasts. No, I know I never will be, but I would like to be. But as somebody who also loves Flake, I would like to see Flake continue to get hired for broadcasts, and that means they have to have money to pay for him, and he is an expensive date. So
boy,
I need people to buy packs, Flake. I'm sorry. I want.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I want people to buy packs and everything. I just get it. I just like
care about the market.
The whole thing of like, oh, we can't do this because we need to protect the whatever. It's like, do we? Like,
so the secondary,
why we put them in a shredder. Okay, we shred these tunics, Flake.
Right, but you have to understand that the reason you should care about the secondary market has nothing to do with the people who have made the investments. It has absolutely zero to do with those people. I couldn't give a fuck less. You print my cards into the ground, I don't give a shit. Right now, it's great. They're worth more than I paid for them. I love that about them, but it isn't a strategy for retirement. Like, I understand, I'm an American, I'll never retire. But the other end of the spectrum is, while not caring about those tertiary investors on the secondary market, that did not make any sense. While not caring about them is fine, you have to care about the collectability of the product in order for the product to sell. And that's the point. It has nothing to do with those investors. It has everything to do with the product being able to sell and having a viability and trust that there's a collectability aspect to the game, or else you might as well make a living card game and just sell the entire set in one shot, which you can ask the L5R players how that went. It didn't go well.
I get that part. I get that part. And this is probably a whole other fucking hour discussion, and ultimately, and this is the last I'll say on it, is that you can still print collectible assets in a game while also printing that card in a lesser, like, for example, the best example of this is Command and Conquer, and the fact that there's a fabled Command and Conquer, because it doesn't make one less or more playable than the other. It just makes one more coveted and rarer, and thus more appealing to the collectability and the investment aspect of it. That said, you could just fucking print the standard Command and Conquer over and over again, so that people,
Right. Absolutely.
and the people who are hunting for those investment pieces and who want something to go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to sell this in 10 years and make a killing on it or whatever, and this and that. Like, I get that too. Like, you
But
have that.
There are currently 7 tiers of Command and Conquers. There's First Ed Foil, First Ed, Unlimited Foil, Unlimited, History Pack white bordered, History Pack black bordered, the black label, and the Fabled. There are 7 trenches of value for Command and Conquer, and the bottom value of Command and Conquer is what, 50, probably closer to $65-$70 right now. I haven't looked in a while, and that's a good thing that there are scalable values of that card. But if there was a 10-cent Command and Conquer, that
I get
Fable
that.
Command and Conquer would be dog shit. It'd be like $10.
Okay, I totally get that. And this also goes back to the fact that why would pre-con CC decks not exist is because they'll never print those cards in there.
Correct.
Thus making those decks ultra dog shit. Even if they do, like, when the question said, even if it was a nice framework to build upon, what are you putting in there that you can't buy for $2?
$2, right? Like, exactly. You're exactly right.
What are you're paying for fucking packaging at that point? And the smart investors, smart consumers are going to be like, what's in this? Okay, where's the value? Okay, what it's maybe the fucking I get like a foil hero,
right?
For I can flip for $10-$20 maybe, and everything else is literally $2, because I can go to the counter and say, give me 3 Macho Grandes, 3 Thunderquakes,
and a
3,
Wendy's 5 for $5.
Exactly, in a biggie bag, and they'll be like, great, awesome. It's going to cost you $5.40 because the biggie bag was $5.
The biggie bag was $5, right?
Basically, and they might just let you fucking have the cards for free. The amount of times I've been at vendors where somebody's like, dude, I'm just looking for a common, and they're like, how much? They're like, just fucking, it's less weight for, you're saving me in transportation and gas charges trying to fucking ship the shit back. Like, it'll never happen because from LSS's point of view, they know no one's going to buy that shit. And from the buyer's point of view, they know that it's going to be worthless and it's not even a stepping stone to being competitive.
No, I agree. Like, I totally agree. I think the less we say about that here on out, the better. So let's get out of here. What do you guys say? I mean, it's been an hour and a half.
I like how you ask, like, I like how when you asked me to be on the show, you're like, hey, you want to come in and talk about the rebrand and the podcast and everything?
Oh, you want to talk about your rebrand? Well, we're getting there, you fuck.
No, I don't, honestly, we don't have to. I don't. It's all good.
You get an entire opportunity to say your piece, and
I have no piece. My piece is that I enjoy hanging out with you two and being friends with you, fucking Wingus and Dingus over here. Okay, it's
the Sandals Resort of podcasts. Yes,
basically, because I get to stretch my legs and dig my toes into the sand, baby. It's so good. But that said, yes, there is a rebrand and there's a relaunch of the Instant Speed podcast, which I believe the first episode will be releasing as it used to every Thursday. It's gonna be coming out on July 6th is when the new one comes out. I think I got Matt Rogers, but we got a great bunch of people. And just to sort of clear the air, because I get a lot of messages about this. It's not a breakup scenario. There's no bad blood. I didn't do anything. It's basically I wanted control of my content, which I didn't really have. I wanted to own my content, which I didn't own. I made arrangements and negotiations to essentially do things on my own. And the consequence of that is that I had to basically start from scratch. There was no way around it. That's how it goes. It's a business and it's all honky dory, baby. That's how it is. I still talk to and do things with 983 Media. That's not the thing. But Instant Speed Podcast, Flake, at least from a Flesh and Blood perspective, we're back. So you can check us out. Just
In like a
message
week,
me.
give or take.
In about a week or so, yeah, I would
Yeah.
say. I mean, July 6th is when the first episode's 2 weeks, I would say. Or a week and a half or something like that.
We can change, yeah.
Yeah, we can change, man. And I'm super fucking excited. And the reason why I'm excited is because before I had to ask permission, and now I only have to ask forgiveness, and I fucking love it. So
that has been my approach to everything in content creation so far, and it has got me 0 preview cards from LSS. So you can go ahead and take that for what you will. Getting out of here, let's talk about our patrons, because they are the lifeblood of Flesh and Pod. They keep the lights on. They keep Charmer in medication. So salutes to our associate producers, Andy, Kenny, and May, and then our executive producers, C-Dubs, Josh, and Flake. I know you've never been on the show with this name. Lance Goodthrust is a patron's name, sir.
that's a
that's a weird way to say patron saint.
Patron saint of Flesh and Pod is
Saint
Lance
Goodthrust.
Goodthrust.
That's a nice little teaser for what my preview cards are going to be, but I ain't going to say anything more.
Wow. I thought that one would go to Tommy. Matt 2Ts, Mike Popovich. He made sure to go ahead and let me know that I was saying his name wrong the entire time by calling him Popo Mike, because he also said ACAB. Alex, Ed, Philip was one of our friends that came over and said hi to us at the booth this past week. So how you doing, buddy? Rich, Taylor, and Trevor. If you are interested in becoming a patron of Flesh and Pod, you can go to patreon.com/Flesh and Pod. The link will be in the show notes. If you feel any need to contact the show, you can email us at fleshandpod@gmail.com. Please be aware that all complaints will go to Flesh and Pod Legal, a subsidiary of Black Hole Legal, which is still the trash can next to Jordan Kennedy's desk. Make sure that you are weekly reading the Possum Papers. If you have been missing, it's because Jordan's been slacking. It's not your fault. We love you anyway. And also, you can find us on Twitter at FleshPod. It's just, I say it and it sounds like porn. You can also just go ahead and join the Discord. The link is in the show notes. Flake, we're going to go to you, buddy. Where can they find you?
All righty. Well, here's where you can get me. Twitter at WatchFlake. That's for me. And check out Instant Speed Pod at Instant Speed Pod for the podcast. Otherwise, the podcast is on YouTube at youtube.com/@InstantSpeedPodcast. And the Patreon. Definitely check out the Patreon. That's where that extra sauce stuff is going to be as well. It's
sure is.
Patreon.com/InstantSpeed. But honestly, the hardest part about all of this is legitimately starting fresh, is just making sure that people know where to find me. And in this business, as well as I do, that sometimes if you miss a week, which you guys haven't, and that is so amazing, I have been itching to get back at it. So I'm so excited to get back at it. You guys are going to be on the show this summer. I'm super locked and loaded on that one. And yeah, man, again, I really appreciate you guys having me on. I love you guys
Absolutely.
so dearly. And a lot of people need to hear it, because what you guys do is tireless work. And I know that sometimes you don't always feel appreciated, but trust me, there's so many people out there who love you guys, appreciate you guys, and are also appreciative of the fact that you guys don't pull punches. And that's important, because there's a lot of people out there who are just so nestled at the teat, just latched on.
Latched on, baby. Charmer, where can they find you? And you know what? Just I'm not going to try to rein you in. Just do the thing.
You can just find me at Charmer, that's Charm3R, on Twitch and on YouTube. And then I am that Charmer on Twitter and most other social media. And if you are struggling to find me, you can just go to charmer.com. That's charm3r.com. You can also find me on the Wampa Radio podcast with Flake, talking about Star Wars Unlimited, because that's a new project that him and I started.
Oh man, it is so much fun. I can't express enough how even Charmer smiles when we're doing it. Like, it's insane.
Looking now.
Smuckers!
Smuckers! There he is, you smug motherfucker. Oh my god. You can find me on Twitter at Logan Peterson. I'm just dealing with these assholes all the time, it feels like. You can also, in the Discord, we are, again, like Flake pointed it out earlier, a lot of Discords kind of just have a bunch of people and nobody talking about anything, and that is not our Discord. We have a bunch of people and they're all talking about nothing, but fuck are they talking. So it is like Seinfeld vomited into a Discord. It's pretty great most of the time. Yeah, it's exactly that. You can also find me. I'm usually the person, not usually, I'm always the person responding to the patron messages and also to the email. So I'll get those. And I want to kind of echo something that Charmer said earlier. Thank you guys for coming and finding us at Origins. It was a long weekend of a lot of really cool stuff. Like we met a lot of people. We got to talk about a different game, which feels good. We got to interact in ways that are it's I love interacting with my friends in these ways. And right now Flake is literally tweeting our show notes live onto Twitter, which is brilliant. I think that the community we have is unrivaled in the honestly, and again, I'm gonna give some props really quick because they deserve it. Tommy's community, the Buds as they were, are also absolutely incredible. I think that community is the only one that I would really stack up against ours and be like, okay, that one really rivals what we have going as well. So I just want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. You guys are the best. Don't change except for the ones that need to. But I think that's all I got. Anybody else got anything? No?
I have a request.
What's the request?
Charmer, can you sign us out with your with your droid voice, which I love so much?
I don't know that I can because I don't have it prepared like normal, but we can try. Hold on.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.